Here's the most powerful school community building strategy that you're probably not using. All right, so today I want to talk about the benefits of committing to research and development for YouTube content creators who want to be or who already are school community owners. My name is Marlon, and I run a free school community called Community Builders, where I help YouTubers build their school communities. I've helped YouTuber Calbram become a top 1% community builder on Skool, with 4 school communities that have made more than $150,000 in under 2 years. In today's lesson, we'll look at what R&D is, why it matters, how it avoids one of the biggest contributors to member churn in your community, how to implement R&D both before and after you launch your school community, and even a highly advanced form of R&D that only a small number of people watching this video will actually go on to implement. R&D eliminates all the fancy guesswork involved in determining what features you'll be providing in your school community. Simply put, R&D is a process that businesses use to create new products, services, or processes, or to improve existing ones. And so you can see we have Gandalf beneath Minas Tirith doing some research, and he's doing his R&D basically. Investing time in R&D helps you figure out what features to provide in your school community, but more importantly, it'll help you save time in the long run and helps avoid the possibility of overwhelm. And to be clear, overwhelm is one of the biggest factors contributing to members canceling their memberships on Skool, and we'll talk about that right now. Due to it being of the utmost importance to avoid, let's take the time to define the concept of overwhelm as it pertains to the world of school community building. A school community suffers from overwhelm when there are too many features in it for the average community member to keep up with. And here's what the Skool founder himself, Sam Ovens, has to say about overwhelm. That's definitely a big cause of churn. I think what happens if people join something and they feel like they can't keep up, then they're like, well, I'm paying for it and I can't use it, which results in them leaving. Overwhelm comes in many different forms, but it's usually one or more of the following culprits. That is, the sheer number of posts made, the number of live calls, the duration of these live calls, the amount of courses you have in there, the sheer size of these courses, etc. If your average community member cannot take advantage of all of your school community's features and explore them within a comfortable time frame, your community is in for some trouble. That is, your community will likely experience high amounts of churn. That being said, here's how to use R&D to avoid overwhelm at all costs. Your R&D method consists in simply taking the time every once in a while to talk to your members. Your members have all the answers, so just talk to them. Moreover, R&D for your school community starts well before you've begun actually building it. Here's what Cal, the YouTuber client that I work with, did long before he launched his school community and long before taking on my services. He made a brief YouTube video that was literally less than 2 minutes, declaring that in a few months' time he'd be launching his first paid school community experience. He outlined his vision for the community, that is, its purpose, as well as the features he thought it would have at launch. He also added a call to action to that video, encouraging his viewers to sign up to a waiting list, and more on that later in this guide. Between the time of that video's release and the launch of his first school community, all of the proposed features had drastically changed. And not only did Cal's proposed ideas change, but they ended up changing for the better. Now, how did this happen? What happened between the release of his announcement video and his community's launch that resulted in these beneficial updates? Cal simply requested feedback from his audience in a one-to-many research format. Over the months that would follow the big announcement, and here's a screen grab of the video where that announcement happened, Cal would periodically publish YouTube community posts hinting at updates to his school community offer and leaving the comments open for his viewers to share their feedback. Not only that, but in the form to submit to join his community waiting list, Cal would also ask members what they wanted out of his soon-to-be-built school community experience. And so you could see here's an example, a screen grab of one of these YouTube community posts that Cal made. Based on all this feedback, Cal would go on to morph the features offered within to fulfill the needs of his most interested viewers. Now, to use modern business terminology, Cal had created feedback channels for his warmest leads to tell him what they wanted from his school community experience. Now, eventually I would join his team and Cal and I would go on to actually build these proposed features. Now, that was how Cal committed to research and development before the launch of his Skool community. Here's how we committed to R&D post-launch, and we'll also look at how we conduct R&D today, because R&D never ends. If you want your Skool community to stagnate, hit a plateau in terms of improvement, and simply wither away, then stop allocating time to R&D. But if you want your community to consistently make improvements over time to its feature set, then follow this advice closely. Right after launching his first Skool community and after onboarding the first 50 founding members, Cal made sure to hop on as many one-to-one 30-minute calls with his members free of charge. The transaction here wasn't monetary, but it was nevertheless a transaction that would bring Cal lots of money in the future. By trading his precious time as a busy YouTuber and entrepreneur to talk to almost 50 members for 30 minutes at a time, Cal was getting a feel for who his members were, why they decided to join his community, what their desires and goals were, their pain points, etc. And armed with this knowledge, Cal and I would go on to further hone the feature set of this community. This was the one-on-one way of conducting R&D. In the months that would follow, we would also make use of Google Forms to request ongoing feedback from both new and old members. And so you can see an example of that in this screen grab here. Now, as far as tactics go, here's an example of one of the feedback forms that we used, and along with the questions that we posed to our members. So here within Google Forms, you can see a basic rate your experience out of 10. So you could have some kind of scale question if you'd like. These are just examples. You don't actually have to follow this to the T. Has the community made a positive change or changes in your life? And if so, how? And so forth. So you could see there's all sorts of questions that you can ask in an intake form, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on Google Forms. That's just what we used because it's free and easy to set up and use and distribute. But this is just an example of what you can do with research forms such as this one. Now, other forms of research and development consisted of Cal and I simply conversing with members during live call events. Otherwise, members reach out through Skool DMs to share their feedback and ideas for future features, which upon further consideration, Cal and I either go on to build or not. Now let's talk about advanced research and development, right? Because you could take your R&D to a whole new level. And only a small number of YouTubers or content creators watching this video will actually implement the following piece of advice. It's not for everyone, but its effects are powerful to say the least. And that advice is to literally live with your Skool community members for a few days. And so you could see a picture of Cal and I, who are not actually in frame here, living with some of the Skool community members that we manage. And so back in September 2024, Cal and I did just that. All the way back in March of 2024, Cal had conceived the idea for what he would call a growth house, a location where he and a select few of his Skool community members could live together for a few days, meld minds, and make strides in their respective businesses or career paths. We developed this project over the months that followed, and the next thing we knew, we had flown out to Austin, Texas, and were eating steak dinners with some of our most diehard community members. And so you could see us here in Austin, us hanging out, watching a course, us having a delicious steak dinner. Now, how does living in a house for a few days with subscribers or community members and eating steak dinners have anything to do with research and development, you may be wondering, and rightfully so. Well, it does. A lot, actually. As discussed earlier, the research aspect of research and development consists simply in talking to your members. This typically happens over Zoom or through direct messages and lasts anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes at best. Well, what if you talk to your most diehard members for not only hours, but for days? What if you could just sit up from your work area, walk to the living room, and literally ask your ideal member all the questions you've ever wanted to ask them? Do you think that this would help improve your business? It certainly does. You see, during our first Growth House event, Cal and I used this time to talk with members and bounce ideas off them regarding our future Skool projects. We would then brainstorm, develop, and hone these ideas based on the conversations that we had between ourselves and the members in attendance at the Growth House. And Cal and I benefited from this power boost to the business for 2 weeks, and we both agreed that during our time at the Growth House, we'd accomplished an entire month's work in just 2 weeks' time. And so you could see us here in this image pretending to be serious, but what was actually happening throughout this entire process of 2 weeks was that we were actually getting together and talking with basically our ideal customers, talking with our most diehard community members and Cal's most diehard subscribers. So it's really quite a powerful tool to make use of. Moreover, we had built the foundations for a project that will make Cal hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million in the years to come. So don't sleep on this advice. If it makes sense for you to meet up in real life with your members for a few days to discuss business, hang out, and get feedback from them, then by all means do so. I guarantee that your business will see immediate positive changes. So here are your options when it comes to doing R&D for your Skool community. When it comes to the pre-launch, before you launch your community, you can get feedback from an announcement, post, or video, and from waitlist forms. Post-launch, you can do one-on-one calls with individual founding members. As far as ongoing R&D goes, you can converse with members during your live calls, send out feedback forms periodically, and just simply DM members or have them DM you. And as far as advanced forms of research and development go, seriously, don't sleep on in-person meetups. They can definitely make significant positive changes to your business. And they're also just fun, frankly. So that's just something to consider. And as far as action steps from this particular lesson, with regards to pre-launch feedback, announce your community and gather feedback via waitlist forms and comments to refine features before you ever launch your Skool community. And as far as post-launch research, conduct one-on-one calls with members if you can, and use feedback forms to identify needs and improve the community experience as a result of that research. And with regards to in-person meetups, host in real-life events to connect more deeply with your members, gather insights that you could otherwise have never gotten had you not met up with these members in person. From there, you can develop future features live with your ideal customers. They're live with your ideal, most diehard members and your most diehard viewers. Just to re-emphasize this point, and I wouldn't say it again and again if it wasn't that important, at the least consider this option because it can definitely have a huge positive impact on your business, on your community, on your channel, whatever it is that you're building out.